Welcome to the Lake Murray series, a multi-part series where we dive into Lake Murray in South Carolina. Not only the important things to know about Lake Murray, but as well, Lake Murray SC homes for sale. That's right. How much does it cost to live on Lake Murray? As well as the top neighborhoods on Lake Murray. Those ones that give you lake access right there in the neighborhood. And yes, those ones that provide you boat slips if you live in the neighborhood. So let's get started. And for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Brandon. Not only am I a transplant here to South Carolina, but I'm a local real estate agent as well, covering the Midlands of South Carolina, Lexington, Columbia, and Lake Murray. And I put videos out every single week teaching you about the area to see if it's right for you. So don't forget to click that subscribe button, but let's get started with the video. Alright, so as we dive into part one of the series, I want to kind of give you a little bit of information about Lake Murray right here in South Carolina for those that are not familiar with it. So there are many beautiful lakes throughout South Carolina, Lake JOCASSEE, Lake KEOWEE, Lake Hartwell, and so many others, but there's only one that is known as the Jewel of SC, Lake Murray, right here in the Midlands of South Carolina. A little bit more about Lake Murray. It is a 50,000 acre lake with approximately 650 miles of shoreline. The lake itself spans through 4 different counties. It is 41 miles long and 14 miles wide at the widest point, and at the deepest is 190 feet deep. Lake Murray was originally built back in 1930s as a hydroelectric dam. The dam itself is 1.5 miles long, and Lake Murray got its name from the chief engineer, William S. Murray. Lake Murray is home of many fishing tournaments. It's home of the famous Purple Martin Sanctuary, the oldest and largest sanctuary of its kind. And let me tell you, it is a sight to see them roost on summer nights. Around Lake Murray, there are plenty of boat ramps. There's Lake Murray boat rentals, Lake Murray marinas, camping at Lake Murray beaches, and Lake Murray parks. But in this series, we're gonna focus solely on those homes that are on Lake Murray, those neighborhoods that give you Lake Murray access, as well as neighborhoods that give you slips right there in the neighborhood. So let's get started with part one. Living on Lake Murray. That's right, homes right here on Lake Murray. So there are a lot of things that are important to know when buying property on Lake Murray, but one of the most important things to know is something that's called the 360 line. And so what that is essentially at full capacity, the lake sits at 360 feet above sea level. And so with that said, when you own a property, for the most part, you do not own past that 360 line. That's right, everything past that 360 line is owned by Dominion Energy. Now, with that said, obviously knowing that the max capacity is 360, what's the lowest capacity? And the reason this is important is because where does your dock sit? How deep is your dock? Because to be 100% honest, there are some docks around the lake that will drop when they do drawdowns. And so that's why it's important to know how deep your dock is. But when it comes to it, to give you kind of an idea, again, I said 360 is full. Now during the summer, it sits between about 357 and 359 feet. October through February is when they typically do their drawdown. And they typically go down to about 353 to 354 feet. And from time to time, approximately every 5 years, they go down to 350 feet. This is all part of preserving the lake, maintaining it. But if you're someone that likes to go out on the lake 365 days a year, it's important to know how deep that dock is to make sure that your dock doesn't end up on dry land come wintertime. And obviously the easiest ways to find out is if you hop on Dominion's site, and there's plenty others you can see. So right now looking at this, July 15th, they're telling me that the lake is at 357.5 feet. So obviously, whatever day you're out there, head onto one of these websites, check the depth and measure from the water down to the ground. And that'll give you how deep your dock is, so you can have an idea whether or not you're gonna dry up or have water during the winter. Now, going further to the 360 line in docks is who gets docks, who's permitted to actually have a dock on the lake. This is not a free-for-all. Everything has to go through and approved by Dominion to get a dock. Because as I just mentioned, you don't own past the 360 line. So you'll be putting a dock in property that is owned by Dominion Energy. That is why you need a permit to do anything past that 360 line, including your dock. And so unless you were prior grandfathered into this, these are the current regulations that Dominion has on their site, and I'll share a link below in the description. So essentially, if you have property that runs to that 360 line, as long as you have 100 feet of shoreline, they will approve you for a dock. Now, if your property does not go to the 360 line, as long as you have 100 feet along the vegetative buffer, then again, they will approve you for that dock. Now, if your property line and the lake has a fringe line in between it, they will not approve you for a dock. Now, if you are looking at a property that has less than 100 feet, the other option is that you partner up with your neighbor and you do a shared dock. Now again, all this has to be approved by Dominion. And again, I will share that link below so you can find more information about that. And as well of what types of docks are approved. The other thing that's important when it comes to buying on the lake is, do you want open water or cove water? Obviously, those open water views are going to be less restrictive than those cove water views. As well, with what I last referenced with the depth of the water, a lot of people like that open water because you're more than likely going to retain water throughout the year. However, obviously the downfall of the open water is you constantly have boats going by, or as storms blow through, or windy days, causing those splashing, those waves coming in, tearing apart your boat and your land. Obviously, you can do preventative maintenance to prevent wear and tear, but again, that is the downfall of open water. So your other option is living in a cove. Now, there are plenty of coves that do still retain deep water year round. And that cove then gives you that privacy of boats not zipping in and out. So again, those are all personal preferences that you choose when you're picking that home on the lake, what you prefer. All right, so when it comes to homes on Lake Murray, they range anywhere from $200,000 on the low to $2.5 million on the high, with a $700,000 average. And now obviously that range is because, as I talked about before, Lake Murray lands in 4 different counties. And so what I'm going to do as I break this down is break it down into individual counties, and as we get into the more populated area, Lexington, I'll break it down even more. But I'm going to start off with basically the lowest price point and work our way up. So we're going to start right in Saluda County. We'll move to Newberry County, to Chapin and Irmo area, and then finish off in Lexington. So when we talk about homes in the Saluda County part on Lake Murray, again, as we kind of alluded to, not all homes are going to have docks, but it kind of gives you an idea of that rough estimate of what would cost if you wanted to live in that area. So I basically broke things down to active as of today, July 15th, when I looked at this, and I looked at closed from the beginning of the year up to today, so you kind of have a really good idea of what things are selling for right now. So when it came to the active homes, the average price in Saluda County was $600,000. Now when it comes to closed homes, it ranged from $225,000 to $750,000 with a $480,000 average. Next, as I said, we're going to roll into Newberry County. In Newberry County, of the active homes on the lake, the average was $600,000. As far as closed homes, again, from $237,000 up to $845,000 with about a $529,000 average price point. Now, as we roll into Chapin and Irmo, there's going to be more properties there than there were in the others. So I'm going to break this down a little bit more. As far as active homes, the average was about $725,000. When it came to closed homes, to give you a better idea, the lowest was a $300,000 house, which was an 860 square foot house, 2-bedroom, 1-bath house built in 1960. The most expensive house closed was $2.225 million, which was a 7,918 square foot house. And so rounding this out, the average of the Chapin and Irmo area was $781,000. So as we roll into Lexington, I'm going to give you the initial overall and then I'll break it down a little bit more. So in Lexington, currently active, the average was $920,000. As far as closed since the beginning of the year, we were looking at the lowest of $220,000, which again was an 850 square foot house, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, built in 1970. The most expensive was sitting at $2.4 million. And this was actually a 4.2 acre multi-lot space. The next one down below that was as well acreage on Lake Murray. But that gave us an average of $977,000 in the Lexington area. So again, I want to break Lexington down a little bit further, and we're going to focus on the area that is zoned for the Lexington 1 school district. Smaller area than what we were originally talking about. So in the time frame, there were 7 closed homes with an average price point just under $1 million. Those ranged from $164 a square foot up to $441 a square foot, with a $269 per square foot average. Now, as far as active homes in that area, there were 8 active homes with an average price of $1.225 million. Those price per square foot range from $228 up to $1,041 per square foot, with that average being right about $490 per square foot. So again, I hope this gives you an idea of what things cost actually on Lake Murray. There's a ton of different options and a ton of different price range depending on how flexible you are and what you're looking for. Now, after watching that, you may be like, you know what, Brandon, Lake Murray living is probably a little bit out of my budget. And that's why I made this into a multi-part series, because next what we're gonna dive into is homes that are in lakefront neighborhoods. That's right, neighborhoods that you either have access to the lake right there in your neighborhood and don't have to rely on those public areas, or neighborhoods that give you a slip where you can park your boat right there in your neighborhood. Don't forget to click that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the remaining videos within this series, Living on Lake Murray.
There's only one phone call that you need to make. In Columbia, Brandon Guerin is a real estate agent dedicated to helping families relocating to South Carolina. Contact the agent I trust in Lexington and all of the Midlands, Brandon Guerin, and visit him online at brandonguerin.com.